My name is Clarence Griffin. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Loyola Marymount University School of Education. I want to welcome you to LMU. We really are happy to have you here, to have an opportunity to just come together as a community and to hear from our leaders. But before we get started, I would be remiss if we did not thank Carl Robin from the West LA Democratic Club. And also, let's give a round of applause to Sheila Mickelson with the Westchester Playa Democratic Club. And so, with no further ado, if everyone could stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We're all making history together. And I want to thank our elected officials, Mayor Garcetti. City Attorney Mike Feuer. City Controller Galperin. And the inimitable Mike Bonin, CD11 Councilman. Gentlemen. It's a pleasure to bring government to you, and this is such an important event in terms of we're all here tonight making history together. The theme of tonight's forum is campaign promises made, campaign promises kept, and the direction of our city. I need to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn things over to my wonderful colleague, Cara, from the president of the West LA Dem Club. But first, I want to thank Clarence Griffin from LMU, Strategic Partnership of School of Education. Kathleen Flanagan, are you here? VP Community and Government Relations. She's not here. Where's she? Kathleen? Thank you very much. Also, Celeste Durant, Communications and Media. They have done an incredible job. Is Celeste here? And again, my friend Cara, where are you? Carl Robin, West LA Dem Club. I need to just honor and really thank this committee that has worked for 2 months, literally, week upon week, night upon night, in putting this event together, and that's William Roberts, Westchester Playa Dem Club, Travis Pham, Greg Dina, Odysseus Bostic, West LA Club, Ingrid Van Eckhart. Where are you, Ingrid? Over there. Mark Salzberg, Marianne Tyler, and Jack Pritchett. Last but not least, our co-sponsors, the 54th AD, the 66th AD, Beat Cities, Culver City. I know I'm going fast, Eric. I'm trying to get you on. LAX Eric Club, Miracle Mile, New Frontier, Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica Stonewall, Torrance Democratic Club, and SEIU USWW. Welcome, everyone. Thank you.
Whoa, yeah. Wow, it's great to see all you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, boys. Oh, man. Are we lucky or what? I mean, are we lucky? Look at these guys. I mean, what an administration. We have a whole special new kind of administration. We actually have people who like each other, you know? And who want each other to succeed. And that's what I love, that they work together, they talk to each other, they talk to us, they're out in the communities, and whew, it really is a breath of fresh air, and I love it. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Mayor Garcetti, Councilmember Bonin, Controller Galperin, and City Attorney Mike Feuer. Okay, So I'd like to I thank you all for coming out, and I just wanted to introduce a couple. Everybody's important, trust me. For us, you're all VIPs. But there are some people that have kind of, worked a little harder, maybe. So I do want to say thank you to them. I have to read it, if I can read it. I see the former Assemblywoman and candidate for the 62nd Assembly District, the Honorable Betsy Butler. I think the Honorable John Frierson, our boxing commissioner. We have a candidate for Secretary of State here. Remember his name, Derek Cressman. We have 3 neighborhood council presidents from our area, from our own west side. They all showed up. Cindy Hench, Westchester Playa. Linda Lutz, Venice. And Sharon Cummins, Mar Vista. Pretty good, huh? The west side. We also have Fran Diamond. Where are you, Fran? Fran, where's Fran? Fran, who is a 5 times president of the LA Regional Water Quality Board. And last but not least, and I hope I'm not missing anyone, we have our own Board of Airport Commission Vice Chair Val Velasco, who, and I just want to tell you all that it's Val's anniversary tonight, and she has a tradition of going out with her husband, to celebrate their anniversary, and tonight she decided to celebrate it with us, so thank you, Val.
Get out of here.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff to say, but I think we really want to get on. What happened? Jeff, oh my God! I know, and it's really right here. My really good friend. I'm so embarrassed. Jeffrey Prang, who is the mayor of West Hollywood, and candidate, don't forget, candidate for LA County Assessor. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. You promise? Thank you. He sent me a great picture of us the other day. Okay, do you know what this is just a bit of trivia, that the first, how it got to be a tradition here, thank you, Sheila, for turning me on to this, was Franklin Roosevelt was the first one that made it kind of a tradition to do the 100 days, because he achieved so much in his first 100 days. I mean, really, he did, I think, the first 2 days in office or something, he had a 4-day bank holiday, and what did I say? I wrote this all down. He drafted the Emergency Banking Act, which averted this financial panic. And then in that first year, the first 100 days, he got everything going that really culminated in the New Deal. And so and his fireside chat. So since then, it's become a tradition to do what have the presidents achieved their first 100 days. And of course, here in West LA, what is our new administration achieved in their first 100 days, and who we have to grill them on it, of course, is the inimitable Warren Olney, who is really the dean. Warren is considered the dean of Southern California broadcast journalists and is the host and executive producer of Which Way LA and To the Point, which I think most of us are familiar with. And if you're not, turn on KCRW, really. Because Warren and both of his programs have been honored with nearly 40 national, regional, and local awards for broadcast excellence since its inception. Pretty amazing. Most recently, Warren received the 2012 Lifetime Achievement Award for his broad achievements in television news. And he was named Best Radio Journalist of the Year at the 2001 Los Angeles Press Club Southern California Journalism Awards. The main thing, too, there are 2 main things. He's the only person to have been twice named Broadcast Journalist of the Year, and he's a West Sider. He lives here in Marina Del Rey, so he is definitely your constituent.
City.
He's in the city side. So with no further ado, let's get on with our program, and I introduce you to Warren Olney.
I'm going to put this thing back in here. Thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you all. Hi, boys.
Hi. Hello.
And they are boys. There are no women left as elected officials except for one in Los Angeles. Mayor Garcetti just asked me what I was doing at a partisan event. You can't hear me? Is there a switch on it? You can't hear me? Let's get a technician on the job here. Is it on now? Is it on? Oh, there we go. Oh. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I was just going to say the mayor asked me what I was doing at a partisan event. I reminded him that he holds a nonpartisan office, as do all the others on the platform. I'm just a guy that lives in the district. That's what I'm doing here. It's very unusual, it seems to me, to get so many people together at the same time who represent different aspects of city government. We have Councilman Mike Bonin, who represents the legislative branch. We have the controller, Ron Galperin, who represents the financial branch. We have the city attorney, Mike Feuer. He is the legal and law enforcement officer of the city. And, of course, Mayor Eric Garcetti is the head of the administrative branch. So it'll be interesting to see how they all approach similar problems, or sometimes the same problems, in different ways from their different points of view. We're going to give each of them an opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes. And there is a timer around here someplace, but or there was supposed to be anyway. There's the timer up there. Okay. So I know they'll be watching the timer, as I will. I can't see the timing on the on that. Okay. So let us begin without further ado with Mike Bonin. You got 2 minutes.
Okay.
There we go. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank all the clubs for putting this together, and thank Warren for moderating. I want to be particularly gracious to a constituent who's our host tonight, or our moderator. And I want to thank the folks I'm sitting here on the stage with, our mayor and our city controller and our city attorney. They asked us, I think, not to give sort of our stump speech as we talk. So one of the things I just wanted to note is to sort of mark how different I think things are, the moment in time we have and we're at in city government. We have so many new faces to city government, so much fresh energy, and so many people working in sync on things. You know, as a newly elected official, I don't feel like I'm alone in anything. You know, when I need legal advice or a crisis comes up in my district that has a legal implication, I don't need to seek Mike Feuer out. He's on the phone to me. When we have an issue at the city council, it's not one of his staff members who's there briefing us. Mike is there at the table. Even if it takes 2 hours to get into the intricacy of a legal case, he's there, hand in hand with us. You know, with Ron, we have a guy who is perhaps more suited to the office he holds than anybody I can ever think of. This is a guy... He lives and breathes finance and the intersection of technology and how to make the city more open and transparent. I guarantee you that if you asked any member of his staff, and I haven't, but if you asked any member of his staff what happens when they wake up in the morning, there's 3 emails from Ron with ideas on how to do something to make the city better. And I'm particularly psyched to be able to work with a mayor with such vision and with whom I share such an agenda. You know, the direction that he wants to take this city is the direction I want to take this city. The energy that he brings to government is, you know, that's a wave I want to ride. And there are so many things I could say about the mayor. I keep slipping into saying Eric, and I want to be, you know, I saw him at work under fire on Friday with the incident at LAX. And anytime there's an incident like that, you always wonder, how is the person in the spotlight going to fare? How are they going to meet the test? And I saw a guy who was cool and calm and absolutely collected at every moment that day. He kept our law enforcement agencies working together. He kept everything calm. I was just so grateful that we have Eric as a mayor right now, an incredible leader, and I think he's living up to the promise that all of us hoped he would have when we voted for him. And, you know, there's a tendency for politicians to congratulate each other, but man, we have a unique opportunity now, and we're at a very special time.
Okay, Mike Bonin. Ron Galperin, go ahead. The time is flexible here in this event. Everybody's friends.
Good evening, everybody, and it's really a pleasure to be here as your new city controller. Let me start with just a little story of my second day at work on the job of city controller. And I was getting briefings from all the various sections of my office, and among the things the controller does, as I'm sure many of you know, is we produce payroll for about 50,000 people every 2 weeks. We produce financial statements of the city. We do audits. We have a waste, fraud, and abuse unit. We also pay the checks for all sorts of vendors. But the person who does payroll actually came into my little conference room. It seats about 6 people to give me a bit of a presentation. And they wheeled in this huge machine. I wasn't even sure what it was at first, but it was actually one of these very old-time, maybe 20, 25-year-old projectors for the little presentation that they wanted to do. And it took a whole bunch of time to screw everything in and to plug it in and for it to warm up, all of it. And then I couldn't help myself. I said, well, have you seen those $179 pocket projectors that they sell at Brookstone, and their Bluetooth and their Wi-Fi? And the response was, well, unfortunately, we don't have the budget for that. It was really kind of shocking, but a very interesting wake-up call about how we have been spending our money in the city of Los Angeles, and about the need to invest in technology and in doing things in a new way, and how we actually end up spending more money for our failure to having done those kind of investments. I can't say how honored I am to be working with these folks who are up here on the dais. And when you talk about collaboration, we're actually doing this on a daily basis. It's really an honor to work with each and every one of them, and their staffs have gotten that message as well, which is great. I've been able to put out a new website, as many of you I'm sure know, regarding a lot of the finances of the city. Way more to come, because there's so much more to do. Looking at many of the special funds of the city, of which there are 1,000, shockingly. But there are many opportunities at every turn to try and save money, to bring in new revenues. And my obsession, among many I suppose, is ROI, return on investment, and how do we look at everything we do and what are we getting for it. I have to say, by the way, when it comes to the other 3 folks who are here, the city is getting an amazing return on investment. So thank you very, very much.
Let's hear from Mike Feuer.
Thank you, Sheila. All right, thanks, Warren. Well, you know, let me begin with something that's kind of indicative of my first few months in office. But before I do, you're going to hear each of us say really kind and warm things about the others. The difference between this and other political audiences is we actually mean it when we say it about each other, which is very cool. So I was, about a month ago, in a situation which kind of typifies my office. At about 3 in the morning, my security detail came to my door, gave me a bulletproof vest, and took me to a parking lot at the Coliseum, from which a number of agencies, including our office, were going to be deployed to take down several leaders of key gangs in the city. And it was a very tense thing. It was like a movie set with the Coliseum parking lot awash with lights and all these mobile command centers. And we eventually deployed in caravans, and we arrived at the first location with a number of vehicles, including like an armored emergency medical services vehicle. It was kind of a tense thing. So we're waiting for the action to start, and it's starting. I'm about 2 houses away because they want to keep me back a little bit. And there's an apartment building right next to me, and from the window above, we can see the curtains rustling, and it's pitch black outside. Then a face in the window, and then a voice. Mr. Feuer, so good to see you on the job so early in the morning. True story. So from gang violence, you can't make this stuff up. So from gang violence to addressing issues of homelessness, to focusing on gun violence, which is going to be a pivotal focus of our office, to grappling with assuring kids are safe on their way to school, to providing timely and concise and focused, clear advice to the council, getting the city's work done on time, and doing so with a focus on solving our most important problems always. That's what makes this job so full of potential. I inherited an office that has great things in store, and I'm looking forward to working with all my teammates here because we really add value to each other at what Mike said is true, which is a moment in time that's unique in the city's history. Let's take advantage of it. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, before you go, I just want to point out that former Assemblyman Mike Davis has joined us. He is now on the Board of Public Works. Go ahead with your flexible 2 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you, first of all, to LMU for having us back here. This was a great place during the mayoral campaign where we had some wonderful forums. Thank you to all the sponsoring groups, especially West LA and Westchester Democratic Clubs, and thank you for all the work you did over the last year during our elections, which is a tremendous amount of work, and kudos to you for that, absolutely. I'm going to start where Mike left off because it's true. Whenever you get elected officials together, everybody sits around and says how great they are. And I think if we're honest, a lot of the time it's hyperbole. This isn't, and there is something different. You want to know what's different in the first 100 days and what's shifted at City Hall? There's genuine friendship that would exist here if we were not in the positions we were in. There's trust. And I've seen a lot of elected officials at City Hall. I'm now the longest serving elected official at City Hall, which should scare you as much as it scares me to hear and to say. But people say that, but behind the scenes, they're actually rivals, there's competition, there's backstabbing, there's all the things that we've seen happen between any of the previous incarnations. Good people, but who sometimes are going in 4 directions. We have for the first time folks who are and will continue to. This isn't just kind of the honeymoon. I think we have a depth of a relationship that for the first 100 days we've seen already a shift in the culture of City Hall, which is really what my focus has been for the first 100 days. One mayor told me, you can't do much in the first 100 days, just build a good team. When people ask you, what have you accomplished in your first 100 days, they won't even remember what you did, but they will remember who you pick, because those are the people who are going to be implementing. And changing that culture starts from the top down. In the charter, it says that I'm the CEO of the city. But we've never done things like we interview general managers to see whether or not they should stay. We've just inherited them. We've never talked about priorities and asked them to write memos to talk about, for my values, sustainability, customer service, technology, looking at ways to reboot our economy. And the way that I've seen these folks work together, whether it was Mike and I in the Secretary of Transportation's office last week talking about how we can finally get transit into LAX, or whether it was the controller and I sharing data so that we can push that out and people can create the best apps in the world, they can have the best accountability from journalists and from the public alike, or whether it's just making sure you know where your taxpayer money is going. We're both data geeks and we're looking forward to continuing to do that. And with Mike, the way we've been able to as well, whether it's on, there's 2 or 3 issues where pick up the phone, the DWP, labor negotiations early on, the best advice in the world, and direct involvement, not just advice, but somebody who knows the difference between giving advice and also getting directly involved. We have a different City Hall. My time's up. I look forward to getting into a lot of the specific issues and some things we're doing in the mayor's office, but I do want to say one very last thing, which is Mike, too, deserves a tremendous amount of praise for his work on Friday. And I was very proud to have him by our side. In any incident like what happened, there will be lessons learned. There's no perfect incident, but I talked to the officers who were involved and the speed with which they got there at our airport and were able to save as many lives as they did was nothing short of heroic. And it wasn't just officers, it was employees, some of I think who are represented here by their union tonight, USWW, who went out there and who I saw shuttling people out, not knowing whether there was 1, 2, or more active shooters. I saw that video today. It was harrowing, but there was also heroism in it too. And so thank you for what you did, Mike, too. Thanks.
I hope you understand this puts me in a very peculiar position, because in the news business, we're looking for what are the differences between people, not what the similarities are between people. These guys say they all agree with one another. Mike Bonin, I do want to ask you this. You have said recently, and gave a lengthy interview to the paper in the South Bay, that in fact there were problems on Friday. Emergency gates that weren't marked, poor communications, evacuation issues, inadequate support for passengers, people showing up at a Red Cross Center in Westwood, 300 people expected, only one appeared. And you called for a sweeping review of what happened. I understand that good things happened as well, but you pointed out there were some problems. What about that, and who's responsible for doing something about it?
Well, let me just make clear exactly what I said, because the papers report a certain way. But when I put in my motion,
you didn't say all those things.
I did, but I framed it very specifically, because I was there all day with the mayor, and I was there for a good part of Saturday, about how amazing it was, that how many lives were saved by our cops, and how phenomenally impressive it was that an airport of that size and that complexity, with a major and large crime scene, Terminal 3, reopened within 30 hours. That is absolutely phenomenal, and our folks deserve a huge round of applause for that. What I also said, though, was that, you know, in the cold light of day, there's lots of things that we can learn to do better. And something that concerned me a great deal is that there were way too many people who were sitting near Terminal 1 or carrying their luggage on Century or Sepulveda who didn't know what to do. And there were too many folks who didn't know what to tell them to do. And what I have asked is for the Board of Airport Commissioners and the airport leadership, with whom I spoke on Saturday and who agreed with me that we need to do an assessment, that everybody sit down and figure out how we can do this better. Not point fingers, but get a protocol so that next time, you know, unless told otherwise, maybe if you're evacuating Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, standard protocol, every employee, concessionaire or airline employee or airport employee tells you to go to Lot 3, and then we'll take a Metro bus that will take you to a Red Cross station. Or make sure that while we're tech savvy and communicating via Twitter, that we're also using bullhorns and that we're also doing some signage, or that we use, as the head of the emergency management department suggested to me today, the Amber Alert texting system, so everyone within a cell phone range of LAX is told what to do. Heroic job the other day, room for improvement, and there always will be. And if we had to have an area where there's room to improve, I'm so glad that it is in the passenger information and transportation area, and not in the apprehending and arresting a gunman who could have killed 100 more people.